Price dips are magical for shaking new investment dollars loose, which is why I've ended up investing a lot more in Bitcoin than I otherwise would. So I'm thankful for the price dips. Here's a quick story of 4 of the most memorable times in that. So the first is, as the price was dropping in 2022, I was looking for every conceivable way of buying more Bitcoin. I had not initially considered putting my charitable giving foundation funds in Bitcoin. So when I sold Baumgar Corporation back in 2014, I set aside money to do charitable giving for the rest of my life. And I had not considered touching that money for the purposes of Bitcoin because I figured it would be a royal pain to figure out how to invest it in Bitcoin. I didn't want to mess with it. Plus, it was charitable giving funds, and I just figured I wouldn't mess with it. But the price got so irrational as it dipped. Ultimately, it dipped down into the low 20,000s. And I thought, this is crazy. At below 25,000 a coin, it makes 0 sense for Bitcoin to be priced down here. And so I ultimately put more than half of all of those charitable giving funds in Bitcoin at a price of about $22,000 per coin. So obviously they've more than quadrupled the value of that Bitcoin from then until now. And I only did that because Bitcoin was dipping. If Bitcoin had not been dipping, I would have been comfortable with my current setup, happy with my allocation. I had not considered investing charitable giving funds in Bitcoin up to that point, and I would not have if the price had just steadily marched up. I would have just stayed fat, dumb, and happy right where I was. All right, next example, when the price dipped further below $20,000, ultimately Prospera, where I serve as president, we put 7 figures, so over $1 million of our own funds in Bitcoin at an average price of probably less than $18,000. In fact, we bought hundreds of thousands of dollars of Bitcoin at a price of $15,750, which was within $250 of the cheapest it ever got in the last quite a few years. And again, we were investing about $200,000 a week over the course of like 5 weeks, I think it was, with the plan of investing $1 million. And one of those, I think we doubled up on it and put 2 weeks worth in 1 week or something like that. Anyway, it was like $200,000 at $15,750. Again, because the price was dipping. If the price had not been dipping, we would not have put our treasury reserve capital in Bitcoin. But the price of Bitcoin was so cheap, it made sense to do that. All right, a third example, as the price climbed higher and higher and higher, it hit $74,000 in March of 2024, and then the price receded and it bounced around between $50,000, actually it was between $55,000 and $70,000, and it bounced around there so long that I thought this is ridiculous. At this point, worldwide adoption is so high compared to the price that I have got to find a source of capital that I'm not already deploying. And I decided to put my entire 11 years of Baumgar Corporation 401k in Bitcoin. And I ultimately did that in, I think it was July or August of 2024 at a price of $57,300. So 57300. So I bought a substantial amount of Bitcoin with 11 years of fully matched 401k at $57,300. Again, I only did that because the price was dipping. It had been as high as $74,000 and the price was down in the 50s, and I thought, this is dumb. This is ridiculous. If people are going to keep being irrational about the price of Bitcoin, I'm eventually going to find a way of deploying more capital into it. And so I did. And obviously I'm up substantially on that $57,000 401k, which had been growing very slowly up until that point. Okay, the last example is the most recent. Bitcoin peaked at 126,000. It started marching down. And once it dropped below 110,000, I thought, okay, here we go again. This is getting dumb. This is getting stupid. People are acting irrationally. The worldwide adoption of Bitcoin justifies a significantly higher price than the price today. And if you're going to dangle cheap Bitcoin in front of me long enough, I'm going to find a way to buy it. And the only thing I could come up with for a way to buy it was some gold and silver that I had bought back in 2017. I could not remember exactly how much I bought, and I couldn't remember or immediately figure out how much it was up, but it was enough to be in the 6 figures somewhere. And so ultimately, as the price hit 105,000, I decided, you know what? Here we go again. I've been here before. I'm going to sell the gold and silver. I'm going to buy Bitcoin with that capital because the market is once again being irrational. So it started a multi-week process because once you decide you're going to sell gold and silver, unless you want to take a huge discount at a pawn shop or something like that, which obviously I was not going to do, it takes a couple of weeks, at least, 10 days to 2 weeks to go from I want to sell it to I have money in the bank as a result. And it took in my case, about 2 weeks to go gather up all the gold and silver, inventory it, call around to figure out where I could sell it. Ultimately, I sold it at SD Bullion. S as in Sam, D as in David. SD Bullion, sdbullion.com. They came highly recommended by a trusted friend of mine who had used them before many times. And so I sold all of my gold and silver to SD Bullion. The wire transfer hit last night, and I bought hundreds of thousands of dollars of Bitcoin last night at an average price just above $95,000 per coin. So here we go again. Now, I don't know where I'm going to come up with additional capital in the future. If Bitcoin goes up to $175,000 a coin and then dips back down to 140, I will be feeling like I do right now, which is, hey, Bitcoin's being irrational. How can I buy more? I don't know how I can buy more right now. But you know what? I'm a very creative individual. I will either find a way of making more money or finding a way to monetize an asset that I own and find a way to get liquidity on that asset. Or maybe I will get more comfortable with borrowing against Bitcoin to buy more Bitcoin, which I do not recommend unless you are a very sophisticated investor, because it's very easy to get liquidated, which means you lose your Bitcoin if you're doing that. I am currently not comfortable doing that myself, but there might be some creative ways that I can leverage to buy more Bitcoin. I don't know. Right now, I sold the gold and silver. I'm deploying that capital into Bitcoin as fast as I can. I still have a little bit more to deploy into Bitcoin, but I have hit the daily purchase limits on Coinbase, River, Gemini, and Strike. On all four of those, and my daily purchase limit on Kraken is too low to be worth doing. I don't want to mess with it. Mainly because I've never actually bought any Bitcoin on Kraken, and so you start out with a really low daily limit. Whereas those other platforms, I used to buy Bitcoin on Gemini way back in the day. I don't anymore until last night. But then of course, I do buy Bitcoin on River all the time, and from time to time on Coinbase. And I've never really bought much on Strike, Strike. But Strike is a great platform. It's just River's better, in my opinion. So I always use River instead. But I was maxed out on the daily purchase limit on River, so I bought some additional on Strike. So anyway, I've got a little bit more as soon as my daily limits reset, which should happen in the next couple hours. I'll buy a little bit more Bitcoin, probably around $96,000 per coin. I don't care what the price is. I'm going to buy it no matter what the price is. But you should be thankful for price dips. Price dips give you the opportunity to reevaluate whether the amount of Bitcoin you own is the most you're ever going to want to own. And if it isn't, it gives you the opportunity to buy more at a discount. And it also just does a magical job of shaking loose additional capital. In my case, charitable giving capital, and Prospera Treasury Reserve capital, and 401k capital, and gold and silver capital. Each of those price dips gave me an opportunity to shake loose additional capital that I had not previously considered allocating to Bitcoin. But the price dip reminded me that the market is still irrational. The price is significantly below what it should be based on worldwide Bitcoin adoption. And it made me reconsider whether I really owned as much Bitcoin as I thought I should. And ultimately, I concluded all of those times, and many more before that, that I did not own as much Bitcoin as I should. Now, I didn't cover the smaller ones. The price dips earlier this year in April is when I took my allocation from 97% Bitcoin up to 99% Bitcoin, when the price dropped into the high 80,000s. And then subsequently, when it dropped into the mid 70,000s, it was actually in the high 70,000s when I bought the last 1% of Bitcoin with my liquid assets. So as of April of this year, I've had 100% of my liquid assets in Bitcoin, with gold and silver being the only thing that was not in Bitcoin because it was not liquid and it took multiple weeks to make it liquid. But I had 97%, which I ultimately upped to 99 and then 100%. And both of those were based on price dips as well. So be thankful for price dips. It's an opportunity to buy Bitcoin at a discount. It's also an opportunity to reevaluate whether you have a source of capital you had not thought about before that could be deployed into Bitcoin in a way that will make you very thankful one day that you did.